Loading now. Hello, Mountain Lions. Welcome back to Lionsverse, a weekly podcast taking you inside the athletic department, giving you an opportunity to get to know some of your coaches as well as some of your fellow student athletes. I'm your host, Holly Stevenson, and with me today I have Alex Koehler, the Associate Athletic Director of Compliance. Alex, thanks so much for sitting down with me this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Holly. Glad to be here. Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. So I guess first things first, everyone's talking about it. How did you survive the negative degree weather?
Yeah, I was about to say, at least we were having 30 degrees weather today. It was a little cold, that's for sure. Had to cancel some games, but that's Colorado weather for you in February, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's what I've become accustomed to in the last 5 years. Are you born and raised Colorado Springs?
I was a military brat, but mostly in Colorado Springs. So yeah, definitely not my first rodeo.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so you are the Director of Compliance. So kind of walk us through what the Director of Compliance does on a regular basis.
On a day-to-day basis, the gist of it is I make sure our student athletes, coaches, and our campus are following NCAA rules. And so, I mean, I am double checking everything, triple checking everything, talking to coaches, student athletes. But really, the gist of it is I'm just making sure everybody's abiding by the NCAA rules.
Right. Have your duties adjusted with COVID, or what additional duties do you have, I guess, that come along with that?
COVID's been very interesting with compliance as a lot of rules have changed or been updated or have just been temporarily changed just for this year or next year or whatever it is. So it's been my duties have changed with I'm on the phone more with my coaches on what has changed, what this is going to look like for you and your program. So it's really just being more up to date on what's going on with the NCAA. Been a lot of updates for this academic year 2021. So that's really just been the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. Is there do you find that there's one thing in particular that's made this year more challenging than previous years?
Just not knowing really, with everybody with COVID just in general, is when is this going to be over or come back to normal, or what's the NCAA going to do? Are they going to let people get the year back or not, type of thing? So it's just really just kind of being in that limbo during that short period of time of what's actually this going to look like, type of thing.
Right. So in terms of I don't know if a hierarchy would be a good word for it, but how do you, when you get the information, how do you streamline it, I guess, to everyone else in the department?
Right now it's either via Teams, Microsoft Teams, or just email. Depends on what the legislation's stating. If it's just for a certain couple programs, then I'll just reach out to them first and then everybody else second. But if it's everybody, we have a weekly call every Friday morning with the whole entire staff. So usually I'll give updates on that. And then if it's on a Monday that I get new legislation, I'll probably just either talk to people or send an email out to everybody just so they have it in writing.
Right. Well, so you kind of mentioned it, everything is always switching, and there's a lot of updates that kind of happen throughout the day, throughout the week. But I remember when everything really just kind of hit the fan last semester, towards the end of it, there were 3 different changes while I was working in the athletic department, working on some social media posts or whatever. So what did the initial hit look like for you in terms of adjusting things, or did it affect you at that point?
I mean, I think all of this affected everybody at some point in one way or another. I mean, I would say yes. I mean, it was a big adjustment for me, not being able to see all of our coaches in the offices and talking on the phone and sending a lot more emails and all that stuff. So I think that was the hardest thing for me, is the face-to-face with all of my coaches on not being able to communicate as well early on. And now I think everybody kind of has it figured out now on how it works and all that good stuff. But yeah, early on, it was a struggle. That's for sure.
Yeah. A lot of face-to-face and interpersonal interactions was a struggle for a lot of us. I get that. So what in your opinion, do you see any of the protocols or rules that have been effective during COVID? Do you see any of those lingering when as the vaccine becomes more widely spread, or do you think that we'll eventually go back to previous protocols from before?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think that's kind of where the whole limbo things come into place. I don't think really anybody knows what this next year or 2 years is really going to look like. I
Mm-hmm.
hope it's more normal,
Yeah.
but I really don't know if the fall is going to be more what it was 2 years ago, or is it going to be kind of like this year?
Right.
Um, I do think we're going in the right direction, and I think we are going in the right direction for it to be more normal. I just don't know.
Right.
So I hope that everything keeps on trending the way it's going, and we can have all our fall sports be more normal-ish and kind of hit the ground running in the fall.
Yeah. Has there been at least some discussion on like what what's anticipated to stay and get booted off again, or not quite yet?
Not quite yet. I think everybody's still getting through these first couple weeks of the semester, trying to figure out what the trends are going to be doing over the next month, 2 months. And the biggest question is, when will the vaccine really be on our campus, and our students and faculty and
Yeah.
staff can all get that? So, hopefully we're going to have an answer probably by the end of this semester, and then hopefully have a game plan for the fall, June, July, and then hit the ground running.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It seems almost everyone that I've talked to, the word of the year has been adaptability and flexibility. So,
Yep.
yeah, yeah, I get it. So, switching gears just a little bit to get to know you a little bit better. You were a student athlete yourself, playing for the basketball team, not just student athlete, but here at UCCS. So, like, first off, what got you into basketball?
Being a military kid, moving around a lot, it was always sports. So sports was like the common denominator for me. No matter where we moved, I always just was, let's go play sports.
Yep.
That's how I met people, type of thing, and I was fairly good at them, so that helped a little bit.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was my saving grace, was sports, when we were just moving around all the time. So that's really how I got into it. And then when we moved to Colorado, it was actually the first time I played basketball up at the Air Force Academy,
Okay.
and just fell in love with it, even though I wasn't very good at it. But I was one of those kids was like, I just want to be better at it, and I was just always in the gym and just fell in love with the game of basketball.
Right on. That's awesome. Yeah, I can totally relate to that. Growing up in the military myself, that seemed to be the easiest way to make friends when,
Yep.
like most people in common, sports is kind of like a universal language. Okay, so you've met, what other sports did you play, and then what made you just kind of focus on basketball then? Was it just the people you hung out with, or?
Actually, no. So I also played baseball
Mhm.
um, in high school, and I was actually probably a little bit better at baseball than basketball, but I'm actually closer with my baseball friends than basketball friends.
Okay.
But I just really liked the game of basketball, and I just wanted to be really good at it, even though I was more naturally gifted at baseball. Uh,
Hmm.
it was that frustration of not being as good as I wanted to be at basketball that really just drove me, kind of
Yeah.
thing. So yeah, it was kind of, everybody always asks me like, how come you ever played baseball? It's like, I don't know. I just like basketball more, and I liked not
Yeah.
being as good at it, even though I was better at baseball. So type of thing.
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally get that. I feel like with military too, there's something to be said about like the work ethic and like trying to, yeah, improve yourself, even though you know you're like either below average, average, and working to be better. I get that. So what was your initial role on the team when you were recruited, and how did that evolve over the 4 years that you played for them?
So that's an interesting story itself. So, um, I was recruited, but then decided not to come to UCCS. Well, I went to UCCS, but wasn't on the team my freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
And then spring break freshman year, I went back into the old coach's office, Russ Caton, and I was like, "What do I gotta do? I miss it," type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "You're on the team." And then that next year, we were very bad, very bad. Um, and unfortunately, that was Russ Caton's last year. And then Culver came,
Mm-hmm.
and then with Culver, it was a nice, easy transition. But on Culver's team, my role was kind of being like the shooting guard slash like glue guy. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I did kind of everything that not everybody else wanted to do, and
Mm-hmm.
it also helps when you have Derek White on your team. So that helps a little bit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was gonna mention that you're one of the few people that get to say that you played with Derek White, which is kind of cool. What was he like as a teammate then?
I mean, he was an awesome teammate. He always did the right things. He's very quiet at first, still is fairly quiet.
Hmm.
So it's not like he was speaking up quite a lot, but it was amazing watching him on the court and seeing what he could do, and especially how he progressed with his body and game over the 3 years he was at UCCS. I
Hmm.
mean, each year he got better and better. So
Yeah.
it was just fun to watch. And then the last year he was at UCCS, he was doing some pretty incredible things. You can be like, yeah, this kid's going to the next level.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, did you guys, when you were watching him on the sidelines during practice, did you guys kind of have a feeling that he was projected to go do big things?
I mean, we always knew he was going to do big things. We didn't know at that point if he was going to be like where he is now. I mean, we always
Right.
knew he was probably going to be in the NBA, but like at what capacity and what role.
Okay.
Um, but that's just the type of person he is. He's always in the gym, and every single year he gets better and better. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he's an NBA All Star at some point in his career.
Right, right. Very cool. Well, going back to being a player for Jeff Culver, you're now one of his colleagues. So, how was that transition for you, going from player to colleague, when you took the compliance position at UCCS?
I mean, it was a little awkward at first, but I mean, I felt like we both handled it professionally. I mean, now we have a very good relationship. I mean, it's not like we ever had a bad
Yeah,
relationship.
right.
Yeah, but I'd say now, I mean, it's just all about work, and I love
Hmm.
basketball, so I talk to him about basketball all the time, like who you got coming in, who you recruiting, type of thing. How's
Right.
how's practice going?
Hmm.
So I mean, I love Jeff and
Yeah.
Snyder, everybody on the basketball staff, and I mean, we have a very professional relationship, and it's just good that I was able to play for him and now be able to work with him. So very thankful
Right.
for that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, they've all got a good setup and a good program over there. It's always he's a very, very personable guy, so it's always fun to talk to him.
Yeah, he is for sure.
So when you were getting your degree and your graduate's degree and everything, did you always know that you wanted to be in college athletics, or was it just kind of athletics in general? What was the initial plan?
So I got recruited to UCCS for the sport management program. So I always knew I wanted to be some sort of part of athletics in some sort of capacity.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know I wanted to be in college athletics until I did my internship with my previous boss, Aaron Hiltner, on compliance. On At that point, I didn't really know what compliance was. I'm like, what do you do? Um,
Yeah,
and and then I worked for her for 3 years. I'm like, you know what? I just really like being around college athletes
yeah,
and seeing what they can do. And so I think at that point, it was probably about my junior year, I was like, yeah, I want to be in a college athletic department. I know
yeah.
that for sure.
Okay. So then, so was it based off of that internship that you were like, I actually really enjoy the process of compliance, or were you thinking of like something else and you just had compliance experience, or?
I just like the aspect of being around college athletes. I
Yeah.
did some other internships with like rec centers, and I worked with USA Basketball for a little bit, so I worked on the NGB side as well. And
Mhm.
I just wasn't a big fan of it. And it's
Yeah.
just like it's different, and it's still sports, which is good, and some people
Mhm.
like it. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. It's just a different atmosphere in college sports.
Yep,
There's just something about like the electricity of fans and the players. It's just a different energy. So
yep.
totally
And it's just
understand what you're
going to
saying.
games on Friday, Saturday nights. It's just like I just like doing that and going to watch our student athletes compete. So
Yeah,
just me.
yeah, no, I totally agree with you. So one more question, and then I'll let you get on with your day. Do you see yourself transitioning out of the compliance position or trying a different division? Like, would you want to upgrade, like graduate to like Division 1? Would you want to try to play your hand at Division 3?
That's the $1 million question right now,
Yeah.
Holly. Um, I think I know I don't want to go to Division 1. I've kind of see my dad has worked at the Division 1 level, and it's different, which
Yeah.
is good, but it's different. And so I'm pretty sure I want to be staying at like the Division 2 level, maybe the Division 3 level if I'm like an athletic director or something like that. I mean, the
Mhm.
end goal for myself is to be an AD at one point. Obviously,
Yeah.
that's a ways down the road.
Mhm.
Um, but So if I want to be an AD, I will have to evolve and probably get out of compliance at some point before I take that next step to be an AD.
Right.
So yes, I guess the answer to your question is at probably here in the near future. I don't know what that looks like, but yeah,
Right.
hopefully I can evolve either this role at UCCS or I'll have to take somewhere else to hopefully be an AD someday. And then who knows? And maybe in a couple years, I'm like, nah, I don't want to be the big dog and be the AD and just be comfortable being either number 2 or number 3 type of person. So
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, no, that's great. I relate to a bunch of what you said today. So again, I appreciate you sitting down and chatting with me. It's great to get to know a little bit more about you and what your whole position entails. Because, like you were saying before, I don't think compliance is something that a lot of people think of
yeah, no.
when it comes to college athletics. Mountain Lions, join me next week for another episode of Lions Verse. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week.